food or carrying a child, but animals that move quadrupedally have no difficulty with that.
Are there other ideas? There are a few. One is that being bipedal in tropical sun gives you some advantage in thermal regulation. That is, it's a smaller target for the sun, and therefore there's less body heating, and this would allow activity during daylight hours, which would provide an advantage. But I think we still don't understand all of the advantages of bipedality.
Why then do we walk upright?
Why do we do it? Well, this is one of the great questions remaining in human evolution.
Everybody wants to know that. Everybody wants to know why hominids stood upright in the first place. And of course, this is it's a very legitimate question to ask. On the other hand, what is important is the standing upright itself. Once you've stood upright, you have all of the advantages and disadvantages of bipedalism, whether it's for thermoregulation, control of body temperature, whether it's for freeing the hands for other functions than locomotion, whether it's any of the different things that have been suggested. You've bought a package, as it were, and this is a very distinctive characteristic of the evolutionary process. Something has to emerge, a novelty has to emerge before it can have a function and before natural selection can work on it.
Interestingly, humans are the only living thing that goes through a two-stage development of locomotion.
All other organisms directly take on the adult form of locomotion of their particular species. Only humans go through a preliminary phase of crawling. And this may come about because of our leg length. As babies, we have short, stubby little legs, and this makes crawling quite easy. Children begin to walk generally when their legs begin to grow. And so part of the answer about bipedality may have to do with the length of our legs. Why our legs are so long, of course, is another question.
Putting a face and body proportions on fossil discoveries is sometimes very difficult. In the case of the adult afarensis, like Lucy, for example, we can be quite certain, since we have an almost complete skeleton. She stood about 3 feet tall and weighed about 65 pounds. Afarensis was dark-skinned and very hairy. The face had a low forehead, flat nose, no chin, and a protruding jaw with very large back teeth. The skull of Afarensis is much smaller than modern humans, with a brain case size of 410 milliliters, about the size of a chimpanzee's brain. Today, we have an average brain size of 1,400 milliliters. The females had much smaller hips and birth canals than modern humans, indicating their young were born with very small heads and brains.
Here is a very interesting specimen. This one comes from Hadar region in Ethiopia. It's Australopithecus afarensis. It probably dates to somewhere between 3 and 4 million years of age. And it is the endocast from this little tiny portion of the skull, which is the occipital bone and a little bit of the parietals. Fortunately, the internal table of bone did not get eroded away, so a nice endocast could be made of this. And we see some features in here that are very, very interesting. For example, these would be the visual areas of the brain, and we believe that there has been a reduction in size of this visual cortex when we compare it to the size of a chimpanzee. And the brain size on this is roughly the same size as this chimpanzee brain, and yet there's clear evidence for what we would call reorganization of the brain.
The organization of the brain gives us reasoning ability and problem-solving skills. Tool making is a good example. The